This is the story of Aage Andreas Langkilde, who was one of the first recorded Langkildes who came to America and was nationalized in 1892. The name Langkilde originally comes from Langkildegard, meaning a farm in Denmark. During the 1700s, there was a law made against using patronymics. This was a naming pattern when a child's surname would be their father's given name plus sen or datter. The three children of the owner of the farm, Rasmus Hansen, started using Langkilde as their last name after the farm. Laurits Rasmussen Langkilde, born in 1706. Hans Rasmussen Langkilde, born in 1710. And Bertha Rasmussen Langkilde, born in 1715. Aage's father's name was Casper Langkilde, born on January 23, 1821. He had 12 children, a noted attorney in Denmark, and a descendant from Hans Rasmussen Langkilde. His mother's name was Frederica Johan Stanislavska Syberg Petersen, born on March 28, 1835. Her home was a beautiful estate, Ulriksholm, built by the King of Denmark. In Aage's early years, his elementary school principal wrote a note that he was a good boy with a strong body and has a lively soul. He started his sailing career in 1883 by sailing to England at the age of 14. Aage sailed around South America, India, the Australia trade, and all over Europe, and rose to be a master in 1887. He later arrived in San Francisco, California in May of 1889. He started navigation school in 1891 and received his nationalization papers on September 6, 1893. Aage married Anna Gertrude Iverson in Oakland, California on May 16, 1900, and she was the daughter of shipmaster Johannes Christian Iverson. Aage sailed back and forth from Seattle to San Pedro, California in the lumber business, while he was the captain of the three-mast Comet built in 1886 and the four-mast Ludlow built in 1890. They had three children: Alvin, born in 1901, Vera, born in 1903, and Myrtle, born in 1905. The children were raised on the Ludlow. In 1908, he became a steamboat officer on the boat named Shasta. On May 16, 1918, he was an officer on the USS Oakland in the East Mediterranean. In 1919, he was an active duty master on various ships of European and China trade routes. In 1921, he joined the Columbia River Bar Pilot Association and lived in Astoria, Oregon. He joined the Navy and the Coast Guard as a lieutenant commander and served during both wars. He then retired. In July of 1940, Aage personally finished his world cruising yacht, the Manitou. He had planned it for years, and it took 2.5 years to build. He put on every bit of finish, paint, and varnish, and did his own rigging. He was assisted by an Astoria naval architect and boat builder. It was a 58.5-foot gaff-headed two-masted schooner, rigged with a 70-horsepower auxiliary-powered diesel engine, driving the yacht 6.5 knots. It has a beam of 17 feet and a depth of 9 feet. It carries 2,170 feet of canvas on a 70-foot mainmast and a 60-foot foremast. It had 38 tons gross, 36 net tons, and 54 tons displacement. The Manitou could sleep up to 10 people. It was considered the finest pleasure sailboat in the Astoria district for its size and engineering. There were several newspaper articles written about him and the yacht Manitou. Aage did a shakedown cruise from Astoria to Seattle, Washington, with a crew of 3 for a couple of weeks to get the bugs out. Then sailed it to the Catalina Islands on the California coast. He had plans to train young men on how to handle a sailing vessel, learn about life on the sea under canvas, and see the ocean through a porthole. However, when World War II broke out on December 7, 1941, Aage was disappointed to ditch his dreams for sailing to Denmark, South America, Hawaii, and the South Pacific Islands. He traded the schooner Manitou for a neighbor's second home in San Diego for 10 cents on the dollar. Aage rejoined the Columbia River Bar Pilots Association and moved back to Astoria. He retired again after having a heart attack and went back to San Diego in 1946. While living in San Diego, and when Aage was 81 years old, he translated from Danish to English a Langkilde family history book written by J.V. Langkilde in 1946. He typed out his translation and included some pictures of other family leasehold estates and handwrote a few closing reflective notes. He typed the following in his foreword: "I am now attempting to translate it for my own pleasure and for the benefit, and I hope some pleasure, to my own family, and I especially dedicate this work to our grandson, Dale Andreas Langkilde." Aage died 7 years later when he was 88 years old on November 4, 1957. Alvin, Aage's son, became a captain in the Navy and traveled around the world before and during World War II, sailing supply ships. Later, he joined the Columbia River Bar Pilot Association. Aage and Alvin are the only father and son Columbia River Bar pilots in Astoria, Oregon. Alvin was injured as a Columbia River Bar pilot in 1946 while moving from the pilot boat to a large ship. He later had a stroke and was placed in a rest home in San Diego, California, where Aage and his wife cared for him. Aage wrote in a letter that he thought the stroke was caused from the stress he had experienced during the war. Alvin died on February 16, 1968. Aage had a major impact on his grandson, Dale Andreas Langkilde, born on January 21, 1944, in 3 ways. 1. Dale was impressed by reading a letter Aage took the time to write him when he was a small child. Aage stated that he enjoyed playing a game of push and catch a ball between their sitting legs. 2. Dale didn't know what to do after graduating from high school, so he joined the Army National Guard at 18 years old, using the 6-month active duty and 3.5-year reserve option. Continue with the Army or go to college. Near the 6-month destination time, stay or go to college, Dale received a call from his 7-year older sister, Christine, informing him that Aage had given him a $2,000 inheritance to use for college, or wait until he was 24 years old. Dale went to El Camino and Blue Mountain Colleges and received a track and wrestling scholarship to Lewis and Clark College, and joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1965. He transferred to Brigham Young University and graduated, completed his Army Reserve time, received his pilot's license, and started his own business in 1967. Because Dale had completed his Army Reserve, he was never required to go to the Vietnam War, where many of his friends were killed due to the military draft. 3. In 1970, Dale married Janelle Irene Haymore in the Mesa, Arizona temple. Shortly after their marriage, Dale received a phone call from Aage's daughter, Myrtle Bement, who was living in Palm Springs, California. She said that Aage had written a book dedicated to him and wondered when he could come get it now that he was married. They immediately drove to Palm Springs and obtained the book and other keepsakes. Dale and Janelle had 11 children and now have 56 grandchildren. When Irene and Andrea, the two oldest children, were about 12 and 11 years old, they helped Dale input Aage's translated J.V. Langkilde family history book into the computer. In the spring of 1972, Dale Langkilde was working for Connecticut General Life Insurance Company doing estate planning. His office was near the top floor of the largest building in Salt Lake City, overlooking the city. He noticed a phone directory for Los Angeles and wondered if there were any Langkilde names in it. He was astounded when he found the name Marcus Langkilde. Dale immediately called, and a lady answered saying, "Yes, I am a Langkilde. My husband is working now. Did you know that he was Samoan?" Dale said no, but he would call back later that night. When Dale got home, he read in the Aage Langkilde's translated family history book where Hans Alfred Langkilde had killed a German officer in a duel during the 1864 German-Danish War. The Germans made a promise to get him. He fled Denmark and ended up in the Samoan Islands. He married a chieftain's daughter named Melippa, and they had several children. When Dale called Marcus back, he had the book in front of him, but he couldn't find Marcus's name. Dale asked about his father's or grandfather's name, but he could not find either of them. When Dale asked about his great-grandfather's name, Victor Langkilde, it was there. They were both astounded and excited to learn that there was another Langkilde relative living in the United States. Dale and Janelle made a special trip to visit them a couple of months later. They had a wonderful time, and Dale gave Marcus a copy of the Aage Andreas Langkilde translated book. Later, Marcus told Dale he showed a copy of the translated book to his family members in American Samoa. They were so excited that Marcus Peter Langkilde and his grandfather named Siuli Marcus Peter Langkilde went to Denmark. The Danish people started the Langkilde Society in a general meeting on May 28, 1992. Arrangements were then made for a worldwide Langkilde reunion in American Samoa in July 1995. Langkilde worldwide family reunions have since generally been arranged every 4 to 6 years. Dale Langkilde often returns to Astoria, Oregon to see where Lewis and Clark built Fort Clatsop, play in the ocean, eat his favorite clam chowder, see where Alvin and Aage are identified in the Columbia River Bar Pilots Museum, and feel the nostalgia where he once lived. He ponders when he was a child and took a picture of himself on the same steps where he had stood as a 2-year-old. Later, he made a point to return multiple times and teach his family history to his children and grandchildren, while taking them to the same house he once lived. The genealogical records are found on the Ancestry.com website under the family tree name Langkilde Worldwide Family, with almost 6,000 names. Everyone is invited and encouraged to assist in updating your own family history. In the Bible, it reads in Malachi chapter 4, verses 5 and 6, "And he will turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse." Aage's final typed comments were, "I believe there is a saying that goes something like this. It is not so much whom or what your folks were, but what you are, or can do for the good of your fellow man." Welcome to the Langkilde Worldwide Family Reunion in Salt Lake City, Utah.